Ever feel a little stuck staring at a blank page? Or maybe you just don't even know where to begin? Well, you're not alone. And today I'm going to share with you some simple and beautiful watercolor techniques to help you break through that blank page anxiety and bring your journal to life with ease. I'm going to be sharing with you 4 ways to overcome that feeling of overwhelm and turn your blank pages into something beautiful, meaningful, and uniquely yours. Let's dive in. I'm Ingrid Carlson, and I am so glad that you are here today. Welcome to my cozy little corner where we create beauty one page at a time. If you love peaceful creativity and find joy in little things, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can keep creating together. I have a lot of happy places, but I have to say that my watercolor palette definitely ranks up there. I love just getting lost and looking at all of the beautiful colors. There's so much creativity to be found in each one of these little pots. Whenever I'm feeling stuck, I like to start with a simple watercolor wash that I'm going to show you here. It's the easiest way to break through a blank page and set a tone for what's to come. In this particular page, I'm just grabbing a page out of this journal that is blank. It's already I think coffee dyed, maybe avocado dyed page, and it's still a blank page. There's nothing there. So I want to add a wash of colors with these beautiful greens and blues. For those of you that don't know, I'm from Florida. And the thing that I miss the most about being in Florida is the beautiful ocean. If you have ever had the privilege, the honor of being at the ocean, then you probably know what I mean. There's just something about the crashing waves, the way that the sun settles into the horizon. It is just so beautiful and majestic. And I wanted to convey that in this page. It's like I'm putting a little piece of my Florida right here in my book. The easiest of all techniques, because all you need is some watercolor, and I like to start with mine very watered down, a brush and your blank page. And what's even more exciting about this is that there is absolutely no rule that you need to follow. Just go where your heart leads you. Add more color, add less color. I like to sometimes layer the colors by adding a very soft wash and then drying the page and then deepening it a little bit here and there. And as you're sweeping the color across the page, letting it flow, letting watercolor do what it loves to do, and that's dance with each other and mesh into the little crevices of your page. Just let the magic unfold before you. This is a great technique when you have a blank page and you want to add a backdrop to evoke an emotion or a feeling. This is also a great technique to do behind a cluster if you just need a little bit of extra something to add to it that you don't know. Definitely try out a watercolor wash. And just look at how beautifully that watercolor transformed this page. But the best part is yet to come. Listen to this crinkle. Not only was the watercolor wash a perfect way to break through that blank page anxiety, but it also starts your creativity process. And now anything that you layer on top of it is just like the cherry on top of a sundae. One of my absolute favorite elements to add to probably every single journal that I've ever created is watercolor swatches. They just anchor every page, add loveliness to it. And I think that they're like tiny windows into a moment or maybe a memory. I love the idea of documenting little moments in our lives, or to just lay beautiful things together and make a beautiful piece of art. So I'm taking some printables here and I'm just layering them together. And then I'm going to add the swatch to the left, and you're going to see how it completely transforms this page. It reminds me of something that maybe our forefathers carried around in their nature journals, and I just love that aspect of it. I love documenting the little things, and something as simple as adding swatches to a page completely transforms the feeling of it. Each swatch feels like a little memory of the outdoors or a reminder of how grounding and peaceful nature can be. There's definitely a piece of my heart that's in Florida, and I think that these beautiful greens and blues are an homage to the landscapes. These swatches make me think of walking along the beach and the sound of the waves in the background, the way that the sunlight hits the water, and it's just a simple way for me to bring those peaceful coastal vibes into my journal. I'm going to take some of the leftover paint, not to waste it, of course, but also it is a great way to add a word or many words, maybe a quote or a passage on your page. What's really fun about this technique is you can keep changing the color on your brush, and when it comes down, it's a gradient effect that is so beautiful and memorable. I hope that you're feeling inspired so far, and I'd love to hear what colors you'd use to reflect your memories or your mood. Let me know down in the comments, and I can't wait to hear how you'd bring these pages to life. As we go through, the most intricate of all the techniques is the fourth one. So what I'm going to do is prep my page with some clear gesso and allow that to dry while we work on technique number 3. I love working with clear gesso and watercolor because it gives it a little bit of a different feel. Gesso is going to give your page a barrier so that the watercolors don't sink into the fibers, but instead sit on top of. So I feel like with the gesso layer, it gives it more freedom to color with one another and mix together on the page. That being said, that can be tricky sometimes because watercolor does have a mind of its own and it loves finding extra water sources. So sometimes your blues will melt with your greens, and that's just a part of it. And I actually think that's one of my favorite parts of watercoloring. This next step is definitely one of my favorites because it's kind of about letting go of control. It's a little messy, it's a little predictable, and that's what makes it so beautiful. You can see here that we're doing kind of a watercolor wash like we did with the first technique, except when we are layering the watercolor on top of the gesso, it gives it more pooling. If you can see there, it's not absorbing into the paper and it's just kind of sitting on top. This is really great, and we're going to work with it to our advantage. I'm just going to take a little piece of tissue, and I think I'm using a paper towel here, and I'm just going to gently press it onto the page. When I start to lift it, you're going to see these soft organic shapes that are left behind, and these are going to be our flower petals. My senior year of high school, I had one credit class that I could do anything with. And I decided, well, I think it was maybe the only class that I could fit into my schedule was an art class. And it changed my life forever. The teacher was very lax. She let us listen to music, and that was my love language at the time. I was highly motivated by music, and I loved that. She also let us eat, chew gum, like all the things that teenagers absolutely love. And so we had a blast. The other thing I have to say is that that class, it didn't matter whether I got an A or an F, it wasn't going to change my GPA. So it allowed me the freedom of really not caring and not worrying about it. One day the teacher came to me and said that she saw potential in my work. And I have to tell you, I was the kid who would say that I couldn't draw a stick figure. As a matter of fact, I would bring a lot of my art projects home and have my mom, who was a good artist and still is, do some of my work for me, and I would turn it in as my own because I didn't think that I could draw. I wish this wasn't so dramatic, but when I tell you that once I started to believe her, I started to see things differently. I started to see shadows and contour and different things everywhere I looked. It wasn't just flat, it had so much dimension. And because of her, and she kind of gave me a pass to not be so intricate and perfect and just have fun. And because of that, it just produced a love for art. That day really did change my life, and that whole class changed my life. And that's something that I want to pass on to you. I can tell you that if I could do it, you can do it. And I just want to encourage you to give it a try. And in case you haven't heard it today, I want to tell you that I believe in you. You are beautiful. You matter. You are worthy. And most of all, you are loved unconditionally. Perfect techniques, especially for beginners, especially for someone who might be worried about not knowing, not ever taking classes. You don't need them. You can just play, and that's how you're going to get better. I promise. So after I took some of the paint off and made very loose leaves, I'm going to take actually first I'm going to take my paintbrush and add a little bit of texture, but I'm going to pull it back out and put it back in. And honestly, I didn't even need this step. I was overcomplicating it. Then I'm going to take a watercolor colored pencil. You don't have to use a watercolor one. I just had that on hand. And then I'm going to draw in the leaves. So see, the absence of the color makes the illusion of a leaf, or a flower petal, even though it's not really there. But when we start drawing, it's going to start appearing right before our eyes. The main thing that I want you to take away from this particular step or technique is be very loose. Don't hold your pencil really tight. Don't hold it near the base, kind of hold it back, let the pencil just move around. Have fun with the shapes. If you look at a real flower in real life, it's not going to be perfectly rounded. It's not going to have smooth edges. It's going to have more texture, and that's what you want. So let the pencil just glide through the page and don't worry about it. Another thing that I like to tell my students is that if you don't like a piece of art that you've created, please, please, please put it to the side. Give it some time. I can almost guarantee you 100% that when you come back to it, you are going to like it. There's just something about giving our eyes time to rest, time to stop looking at things with those perfectionism glasses and to enjoy the art. And worst case, you don't like it, you can always paint over it or even collage over it. Another one of my favorite elements that I like adding to all my handmade journals are rosebuds. I love to watercolor them for two reasons. Well, maybe three reasons. Number one, they're very easy to do. They're Number two, they're very forgiving. And number three, they add a beautiful touch of romance to every journal. And I'm here for that. I'm going to start off by adding a little cluster of kind of dots, and that's going to be the center of my rosebud. And I'm not doing anything precise at all. Then the next step is adding the petals that would go around it. These are going to be a little more watered down, but you're going to see that as soon as they touch the center, those colors are going to mold and mix together and create a beautiful piece. I also love the symbolism in a rosebud. It reminds me of springtime, and flowers that you think that are gone forever will start to bloom. It also reminds me of starting something new. Maybe when I wasn't sure what was going to come of it, but I took the leap, and I feel like these rosebuds are my way of saying that there's beauty in the unknown, to go for that leap of faith that what you're going to make is beautiful because it's an extension of you. And there it is. A blank page that once felt intimidating is now full of color, texture, and meaning. The thing about starting is that it's never, ever about perfection. It's about taking that first step and letting the page evolve and trusting that something beautiful is going to emerge. The next time that you feel stuck, remember that a single brushstroke can be the beginning of a beautiful story. And I want to encourage you to let your journal become a space where your memories, emotions, and creativity can bloom. I want to thank you so much for creating with me today, and I'd love to hear which of these techniques you're most excited to try. Or maybe there's a memory that you want to try to bring to life in your personal journal. Let's talk about it in the comments. I can't wait to hear your stories. I thank you so much again for being here with me today, and I pray that you have a blessed day. And if this video inspired you today, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means so much, and it helps me to create even more ideas for you to enjoy. Until next time, love you. Bye.